Hey guys, welcome to the Heart of David, and I'm also going to put this on my other channel. So I'm going to put it on two of my channels for a very good reason, and this is a serious issue. This is to me, what I believe, a psychosocial issue, but also a systemic issue. But certainly also a spiritual issue. And for me it was. And my story probably doesn't reflect most people who have gone through this and come out on top. And for people who are looking, this video is to help people who are in that situation. And people also who are maintaining this. Dependence is what I mean. To be dependent on yourself, to be independent. And what I mean, I don't mean I'm the independent person, you know, like the independent woman thing, right? This is a really serious issue, and it's extremely prevalent today with entitlement. With entitlement. So, I guess the title of my video will be... Okay, first I want to say this. If not for whether you believe in God or not, because I'm putting this on my Christian YouTube channel, for me it was God who helped get me through all of this. I'm never going to leave him out of it, because without him, and my situation was extremely dire. I will go over a tiny bit of that. But I couldn't have made it without him. Yes, I did the pushing. I did all that type of stuff. But without his spirit, I could have done nothing. Just give me a sec. Let me pace here. Abdominal issues. Just give me a sec. This is a topic that a lot of people don't want to discuss, or they feel too ashamed to discuss. And that's one of the reasons. Sorry guys, I'm making candles while I'm doing this at the same time. It's candle season. And it also actually comes into what I'm saying. Codependency and dependency. So I had to ask, you know, Google or ChatGPT. And by the way, when I say, you know, in my earlier videos, not to use AI, guys, if you use Google, you're using AI. Just know that. So it's impossible to get around it, especially when you're in school. I'm in school where I have to study and use Google and use now ChatGPT because it's a great study tool. So I asked ChatGPT. I'm very careful. I don't ask it dumb questions about Satan and all that type of stuff. But if I'm in a lot of pain and I'm dependent both on the government for assistance, not for social welfare, not that, because of the level of my pain. As you can see me, pain in my legs going back and forth in this video. And I do my own bills, I get my own meds, you know, I can drive now, I volunteer, I'm in university, so I'm also working part-time. So I ask it, and I'm gonna read what it says. Does it mean I'm a codependent? So I said, if I am partially dependent on my father for money, and we'll just call it ODSP, and I have intractable pain disorders, but I'm very dependent otherwise, so it means I don't need anybody. Does that make me codependent? So it says no, partially dependent on your father for money for housing. especially if you're dealing with intractable pain disorder, does not make you codependent. It typically refers to a pattern of behavior where someone becomes over-reliant on another person for emotional support, self-worth, or decision-making, often to the point of enabling unhealthy or imbalanced relationships. It says in your case, it sounds like you're managing a difficult health situation and still maintaining independence in other areas of your life. And so, but it wasn't always that way. It wasn't always that way. And this is the message that I want to do. I haven't scripted this at all. I don't like scripting things anymore. Although they can make it a lot better that way, I believe in saying it in real time. Today I live with no less than 12 different pain disorders. 3 or 4 of them are in my abdomen. Why I say 3 or 4? Because one can come and go. Acute disorders in my abdomen, and very serious pain disorders of my entire body and injuries on my body. Despite that, I forget what I was saying that for. Yes, despite that, I am fighting as hard as I can to be off of ODSP and not for my father to give me money any longer. That's what I've been fighting towards. Full-time university for addictions counseling and training as a recovery coach as well. Being independent, being able to depend on yourself, developing skills. They are necessary. And I don't mean to the degree that I'm doing it either, guys. I overdo it. I really do, because I'm working towards something that I never really had. And I've been pretty much independent for about 6 years. I've been here on my own. I had help in the beginning because of my physical issues. But let's go back. Let's go back to when I was 12 or 13. I'm not bashing my parents or anything. I'm well aware that my family watches these videos too. Some of them do. And none disagreed that I had strict Catholic parents. I also had autism, and it was level 1 autism. It is level 1 autism. Diagnosed. I grew up in a strange time where there were no phones. You know, it was like Nintendo. That was like the most we had, pretty much. And a lot of people smoked. A lot of people were starting to do drugs. Gangster rap was coming out. Grunge era, that type of thing. You know the statistic I just read yesterday? In 2004, 22% of youth smoked. 22%, that's almost a quarter of the youth. So, I'm not trying to make excuses, but I did fall into that stuff. I was, because of the strictness of my parents, I was developing horrible attitudes. You could call oppositional defiant disorder. I was never diagnosed, but I know that's what it is. Because everything, I just did the opposite in defiance. You know, I got in trouble with the law, and that's where the codependency began. I was having to go to court for some things that I did, and you know, I stopped doing those types of things before I was 18, but criminal things, yes. For me, it was about getting a rush. Nonetheless, My dad's a very respected professional in Canada, and I always looked at him as an authority figure type thing, right? And you know how it is if you've ever been codependent, and taking me to appointments all the time. All of a sudden I'm on meds, which began because of getting in trouble with the law. That's how my medication prescriptions began. Like all the new SSRIs, the first ones that ever came out was Prozac. Some of my friends believe that my personality changed because of those medications, and I agree. Got into alcohol, got into all sorts of stuff. Abusing drugs, getting addicted to drugs, later addicted to like benzodiazepines. And I was dealing with all types of different traumas that had happened to me. And like a lot of people do, I lived with my parents, in my 20s, and I never really had my abilities, my creativity unleashed because of the environment that I was in, and because I wasn't learning responsibility. There it is. I wasn't developing skills. I was more interested in getting high, getting drunk, and binge drinking. Stuff was ruining my life. And obviously autism is no small thing. I say it in a lot of my videos because it is a partial excuse. Because many people with autism stay with their parents forever. It's a reality. And got a face here, guys. So I developed a codependency. Sure, my friends were also living with their folks, but it just wasn't in the same way. And when you're doing drugs and alcohol, working is very hard because you spend a lot of your time just thinking about how you're going to get it and what you're going to do. And if I never did those things, I probably would have done a lot better. So I ended up getting pain because of a medication when I was 23, 24 years old. It was a very serious reaction. It lasted 13 months. Called the serotonin syndrome. I got like a hypertensive crisis. I had a million symptoms: blood pressure issues, confusion, and I was having convulsions, seizures. And I tore my neck. All of a sudden, pain spread from my neck into my face, and then within a few months or so, it spread all over my body. It was so severe. There was nothing I could do from that point. And because of that pain, and because I couldn't do anything, like opiates weren't helping it, with gabapentin weren't helping it, because I didn't know what to do. It was OxyContin, and it was the beginning of OxyContin. That's not my fault. It just happened to be at that point in time. I developed an addiction to it, mostly to take away my pain, but I stopped very soon after because I recognized that I had to get proper pain control or I'd be screwed. So a codependency grew even more because of my pain. And they weren't telling me what it was, and it was as serious as CRPS, but full body. And it was extremely hard to meet that criteria. Many people were killing themselves because they could not meet the criteria of full body CRPS because it doesn't exist. There's a new definition now in 2017 for that, which I got the diagnosis. So it's as painful as CRPS over the whole body. And then I tried to take my lives a bunch of times, and I ended up injured seriously injured in multiple places on my body because No one was telling me what the pain was, although I was going into visit after visit after visit to the proper doctors. So I found myself in a position where I thought I was going downhill. I couldn't eat any longer because of one of my injuries. I went so far down a hole, my life was over, and I was probably days or months away from palliative care. If I would have kept going the way, I definitely would have died within a year. Let me pace again. I'm trying to eat too while I do this, but I want to speak about this. I want to get into the meat and bones of what I want to talk about. To give people who are codependent and dependent, who want to become fully dependent upon themselves. I couldn't have done it without God. And so I was kicked out of my home because I didn't get along with my dad, and our personalities didn't mix. Okay, they just didn't mix. There was animosity. There isn't now because we're separated. But by coming here, imagine coming in your own apartment. You don't have a credit card, you don't have a phone, because where I was, I didn't need one. Why? Because I couldn't walk for 10 years. I couldn't walk for 10 years. So all that time I imagined, I wish I would have done this, I wish I would have done that. So when she kicked me out, like, guys, when I walked in here, I couldn't. For me to walk across the room was enough. To walk down my hallway was wow. If not for God, and whatever you look to, I'm not going to be biased against people who are trying to get better. I'm not going to push God on you. But for me it was. I started to introspect. I got to a point where I started to introspect. My pain, by the way, wasn't treated to half the amount of pain medication I needed, and that was my problem. That was the problem. And when I got sufficient medication, I started to introspect. Started to face these things that I was going through, these traumas that I had faced, and became a new person. Face the shames in your life. You know, if you do those things and you're willing to confront yourself and say that, you know, I'm not an impregnable person, you know, like I'm not a solid rock, you know, like I have these issues. If you're willing to do that, then you can grow. So what do you do after that, when you start doing the inside work and all that type of stuff? What do you do? So you're dependent upon the government. You might work part-time like you can hear in the background me doing. So that's a good start. And people who have no start, it's as easy as taking a single step to start developing one skill at a time. Since I've lived here, you have no idea. I can work with my hands and do a lot of different things that I never knew I could do. I'm very creative. That's me. You're going to have to find out the things that you like. What is it that you want to do in life? Okay, so addictions counseling. I want to be an addictions counselor. I want to be able to counsel somebody about the specifics that I learned, both by my experience, but both by what I studied. What step do you have to take? Well, first look at what you want to do. Do you have the money to do it? If you don't, you're going to have to find that money. You can do it online. You can go to university and get as accredited as anywhere else. That's the thing now. I also recommend going into university too, but for people like myself who can't sit in a class without having to take pain meds and have privacy when I eat and stuff because of my abdominal pain, but what are you afraid of? What is it that you're afraid of? That you can't, you might be looking for validation from other people. You have to stop doing that. You have to stop doing that. I suppose at one point I was like that, or like a people pleaser. A lot of people who believe in God are. You genuinely want to help people, but you go to a point where you realize that you're not making your own self happy. So start doing if that's what you're doing and you're dependent on other people, when you stop either looking towards someone for validation for yourself to feel good, or such as people pleasing, you're always doing that to make other people happy, and then that'll make you happy. Stop doing it. And if those people get angry at you for doing that, there's something really wrong with that. You're going to have to stop doing that and start looking into doing something for yourself. Build yourself. You know that Karate Kid where he says wash on, wash off, right? You know that from the first Karate Kid. It starts with the single step, unless that's what they were implying in that. Everything starts with the single step. Like, say you want to take your course, a single course, for a certification in something. That may take you a week to do or something. Go do that, all of a sudden you're certified. You're like, wow, there it is, I'm certified in this. What else am I going to do? And bury yourself in what you're doing. I also emphasize not eating crap food, having a regular bedtime, having an exercise routine, go walk once or twice a day to keep up your regular dopamine and serotonin levels in your brain. Sorry guys. I remember thinking this: what would I do if I was cut off? So I've done all this. I've built up, my own self reputation, if you will. I'm not looking for a reputation, but you understand what I'm saying. And then all of a sudden, what if my dad said, I just can't, he's not going to do that, but I can't do it anymore. What would I do? There's nothing I can do. And you know what? That's although that's not going to happen, that's the thought that I got in my head that pushed me forward. And I'm like, I don't care how much pain I'm suffering with. And guys, it is immense, the things I go through. But I realized I don't want that feeling in my mind. And I'm not doing everything I'm doing for that sole reason. I'm doing it for both. For my peace of mind, so my idea is, yes, to be an addictions counselor, but in what capacity? It would likely mostly be like on a Zoom meeting, like speaking on camera like I'm talking right now. You're going to have to take a deep look into yourself. And maybe the people who are around you, maybe you need a new environment. Maybe you have to do everything you can to get out of your environment because it's making you sick. Mine was. My environment was making me sick. You know why? Yes, because our personalities didn't clash. But because I could no longer just sit comfortably on the couch, I can't do that for long. Or in a bed, I can't do that for long unless I take a sleep medication. Because my pain, so much abdominal pain, or so much leg and back and shoulder and neck, that I was stuck in my kitchen because that's where my little iPad was. And I really had nothing else. I'd paste my floor with adhesive arachnoiditis. That's what I did all day, and that's what a lot of people do. So I was stuck in a horrible position, and I had to, if my family was coming through, if I wanted my own peace, and God gave it to me. Because God gave it to me, I started to build. You get my point now. I don't know if there's anything in specific I want to say. You're going to have to take a chance. You're going to have to take a leap of faith. Whatever you believe in. I don't care what you believe in. Whatever it is, take that leap of faith. Because it's worth it. What are you afraid of? You're afraid of failure? You're afraid if someone's going to say something to you? You're going to have to build yourself like an iron face, like it says in the Bible. Like flint. I still do today, but not nearly as much. I used to worry about, what people said about me and thought about me. At the end of the day, what do these people matter to me? I'm not afraid to tell my feelings out on camera. And when I can't, it's likely because I have too much pain or too much irritability or agitation due to my abdomen. Environmental is a big issue. Maybe you need to move out on your own and start something. You may start very small, but what do you think I did? I didn't have a credit card even. I didn't have a phone. Crazy. But what need did I have anyways? But was I going to pace back and forth in my kitchen and text people? I just had no need in life. Anyways, I hope this has helped you. Take that first step. Environmental. You can do it. You can do it. You have Google, you have ChatGPT at your fingertips. Ask it a question. How do I do this? How do I do that? It will tell you. Introspect. Think about what it is that you're facing. Be willing to talk about it or even speak to God about it. This is things that are wrong with me. Heal me from these things. You can be healed. You can get better. And so for me, what I'm doing is I'm fighting for and studying very hard towards full, the ability to not need any monetary from the government or my family at all. God bless.